Henry Playhouse presents Two Renegades. O. Henry's stories are distinctively warm and enchanting, richly endowed with humor, poignant in human understanding. These elements, more often than not, are set in a framework of novelty and uniqueness. Perhaps none combines all of these qualities more effectively than his famous Two Renegades, the story of a one-man nation.
Come in, stranger, come in.
Thank you. Doc Milligan? My name is O. Henry.
Oh, Henry. Name don't mean a thing. Not a thing.
Oh, there's no reason why it should. May I sit down?
Sure. Don't make yourself too comfortable, though. You ain't gonna be here long. Time's running out fast. Mighty fast.
So I understand. The general made quite a point of it. Anything I can do?
Nope. Don't you fret now, son. I lived a good, full life. Fought for my cause right down to the end.
I know. Barney O'Keefe told me.
You friend Barney's? You must be a blame Yankee.
And has there been anything else for the past 40 years?
Yes, sir. You dang right there's something else. There's the Confederate States of America. If it hadn't been for that grand nation, where do you think Barney be now? Sitting right here in my shoes.
I know, that's why I'm here.
You ain't of a mind to be converted to Confederacy.
Well, not exactly. But I did want to meet the man who kept it alive so long.
What for?
Well, I think a lot of people would be proud to know you, Doc.
Ain't nothing unusual about being loyal to your country, is there?
Oh, no. So long as you have a country.
See here, Yankee. If you ain't of a mind that the great Confederate States of America is the greatest nation on earth, you better start a retreat. You're standing on enemy territory right now.
All right, Doc. Now, don't get excited.
What do you do, son?
I'm a writer. And when Barney told me about you last night, I said, well, there's the man I'd like to meet.
Don't you tell him nothing about my facing a firing squad. Or he'd likely convert right back to a Yankee.
No, I won't. He'd have a pretty sick conscience if he knew you were paying his penalty.
Pay or nothing. I'm just giving the great Confederate States of America some young fighting blood in exchange for useless old corpuscles. Well, Yankee, kind of looks like my vacation is starting right about now. Would you fetch my flag, O. Henry?
Yes, sir.
One good thing about these cutthroats here, they had the decency to give the condemned the last parting request. Mine was my flag.
I'll wait if you like.
I wouldn't think of it, son.
Any message for Barney?
Well, give him this.
Goodbye, Doc.
Goodbye, son. Let's get it over with.
Oh, really, O. Henry, do you think any reader's going to be interested in a stubborn old codger like Doc Milliken? Besides, the Civil War's been over for 40 years.
Declaration of Independence is back further. Still a subject of interest. Will you have a cold drink, Colonel?
No, later. Granted, but if we're going to discuss history, why didn't we do it in my office?
Because it's time to get out of your office. Besides, I felt I could overcome publisher resistance better in a restaurant.
Positive admission of the weakness of your story.
Well, I hope to refute that. By the way, does the 12th of June mean anything to you?
Well, that's today's date. Why should it mean anything?
A glorious state of New York, it's known as Confederate Memorial Day. Bearing in mind that my story is about the Confederate States, I think it was perfect timing, don't you?
Oh, Henry?
Well.
Oh, Henry, you old devil, you showed up after all.
Good to see you again, O'Keefe. Colonel Gerben, Barney O'Keefe.
How do you do, sir? A lot of colonels around today.
Aren't you rather young to be commemorating the Confederate cause?
Oh, well, I'm a recent recruit, Colonel.
Are you from the South?
No, sir, Massachusetts. Oh, Henry, I wanted to make sure that you were here.
Right.
Now I got to get back to the regiment. The activities are about to begin. Colonel, goodbye. I'll see you later, Yankee.
So long.
I think you should know that your publisher resistance is rapidly assuming the proportions of Gibraltar.
Well, let's get back to the story. I'm glad you met O'Keefe. He figures prominently.
Oh, this gets worse every minute.
You said the Civil War was dead. The Confederacy was over for 40 years. Not with him. The Confederate States of America are still alive. Jefferson Davis foreign policy is still a brilliant concept of finance. Double ratio. A barrel of money for a barrel of flour. Hatful of currency for a full hat.
Why, such a policy is idiotic. A barrel of money for a barrel of flour. Utterly idiotic.
Not to the Confederation of America. Why, only 2 months ago, they put it to work to snatch a life right out of the jaws of death. A life that the United States of America was helpless to save. The life of O'Keefe. Wouldn't you have a cold drink, Colonel?
No. Get on with your story.
Well, O'Keefe is what you might call a romantic adventurer. A soldier of fortune. He happened to be in Panama, and he decided to get in on the ground floor of the canal project. But the ground floor was pretty filthy, and he got good and sick.
Enough fever in that head of yours to generate a power plant.
What is it?
Chandler's fever.
Am I going to make it?
Some do, some don't.
Oh, you're a cheerful one.
If I was to say you pulled through and you croaked on me, it wouldn't do much good to my professional reputation, would it? Can you set up? This don't do much good for cases as far along as yours, but it's worth a try.
Where'd you learn your bedside manners, Doc, in a cement factory?
You're a blame Yankee, ain't you?
From the north, yeah?
You weren't the moment I laid eyes on you. They was all sassy like you, but we always managed to bring down their temperatures.
Doc, this might come as a blow to you, but the North won that war.
Not in my books, they didn't. Look at Antietam, Bull Run, Seven Pines. Why, there never was a battle he licked us less than he was 10 to our 1.
You couldn't be from the South now, could you, Doc?
You can bet what's left of your Yankee life I'm from the South. Yazoo City, Mississippi.
Well, I know what I'm up against. So if I secede from the Union, will you give me something for this miserable pain?
Take one of these every 2 hours. If you ain't dead by morning, I'll drop by and see you again.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe you can give me the real lowdown on Gettysburg.
We'll never get a coffin out of here.
The doc's cure took hold, and after a few weeks of his weird remedies, O'Keefe was restored to good health. He and the Doc had even become friends. But the chasm between North and South was still as wide as the Caribbean Sea.
To the Confederate States of America.
To the United States of America. Confederate States of America. You know, Doc, I bet you're the only one-man nation in the history of the world.
You can bet your Yankee hide, as long as there is one of us, it'll always be a nation.
You know, maybe this ain't none of my business, Doc. But why are you down here? Practicing medicine in a place like this, it can't be very gratifying.
I'll tell you why. Because I have an uncontrollable liking for the absence of Yankee rule.
You know, I never met Robert E. Lee or Stonewall Jackson. But I'll bet a chilly dollar that you'd make them both look like abolitionists.
They was fine gentlemen, both of them. Grant should have been proud to be allowed in the same room with Lee at Appomattox.
Well, maybe so. But getting back to you, you got a family back in the States, Doc?
2 sisters, my life saving, Yazoo City.
You ever get homesick?
Can't get homesick when you carry your home right with you.
Oh, I forgot.
How about you, Yank? You happy down here?
Oh, happy enough, I suppose. But I'm the restless type. And I'm getting that wanderlust again, you know? You know, if it hadn't been for hanging around you, I'd been going long before this.
Better watch yourself for them compliments, son. I'm likely to convert you to the coast before you know it.
Yeah. Hey, Doc. What do you make out of all this talk going around about a revolution that's supposed to start? You think it'll get serious?
Why are you asking?
Well, I kind of think the politicians are handing out some dirty deals, and I don't like it.
You don't like it. Yanks to the rescue. Stay out of it, son. What's going on ain't none of your business.
Nevertheless, I'd like to help.
They don't look at insurgents with an eye or a heart of love down here. The sickness they hand out for punishment, I can't cure. It's a strange disease called dead.
Dead. Hey, you know, I think I can get me a commission with the insurgents.
That should give you an idea what kind of army they're going to have.
Doc, you're pretty funny. Well, anyhow, I'll sleep on that. Skull.
Skull?
Unfortunately, O'Keefe joined the insurgent army. And under his military genius, his brigade met with sudden disaster. A few days later, the government military court dealt out its own special brand of justice.
My name is Willis Burchett. I'm attached to the American consulate. Can I help you?
Yeah, I didn't understand the verdict. Will you translate it for me?
You're to be executed in 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
I'm slightly at sea, O. Henry.
About what?
Well, isn't that Barney O'Keefe that I just met the same person who was sentenced to die?
Uh-huh.
Well, how did he escape?
Well, he actually didn't escape. His release was obtained quite legitimately.
Oh, you mean the American consul intervened in his behalf?
No, but Willis Burchett explained why the council was helpless to intercede.
Well, that's it. Unfortunately, my request to him was made on a personal basis, so we have no real grounds for a strong case.
No real grounds. Well, what about the fact that I'm an American citizen?
Well, that isn't always sufficient. You joined with a group of soldiers and attempted to overthrow the government. That's always bad, leads to trouble.
Oh, that message has already been driven home to me. What I want to know is, will you help me? Are you going to use the power of the government to save the life of a citizen? Or are you going to let me face that firing squad in 2 weeks?
Look, O'Keefe, I know how you feel, and I don't blame you, but after all, you insurrected against the government and are therefore subject to the laws of this country. If it'll be any consolation to you, I'll be happy to cite you some international law cases in point.
The only consolation you can offer me is to get me out of this place.
That's impossible, because there's nothing I can do as a representative of the United States.
Now, wait a minute. There must be something that...
I'll take a crack at the general, but I'm sure it won't help. I'm sorry for you, O'Keefe. Genuinely sorry.
Well, your sympathy isn't keeping me alive, Mr. Burchett. All I'm asking is some assistance from my government, that's all.
Look, O'Keefe, if you had been bent on being a soldier, the Army of the United States would have been pleased to welcome you. But since instead you chose to be a soldier of fortune, then you must take the fortune, whether it's a smile or a frown.
I'm not interested in a lecture on philosophy. Look, mister, I insist that you refer my case to President Teddy Roosevelt.
That's impossible, too. Is there anything else?
No. There's a Doc Milliken living in San Juan. I'd like to see him.
Yeah, I'll arrange for it. See you tomorrow.
May we pause a moment, Colonel?
Yes, if you like. I must admit you've got me well wrapped up in this.
Well, I'm happy to hear you say that. I'll admit you did have me worried. Colonel, let me try an experiment with you. You know the ending, and you know the facts up to now. Have you any idea of what goes in between?
No, I'm afraid I haven't.
Good. That's encouraging. Now let's get back to O'Keefe.
Let me interrupt. Do you think it's discreet to portray the attaché of an American consulate the way you have? After all, it could be repugnant to certain political factions, you know.
It shouldn't be. I'll admit Burchett is not a very comforting man, but he did interpret the law correctly. O'Keefe's crime was directly under the jurisdiction of the nation he offended. The United States was helpless to act.
I see. Very well, go on.
Well, O'Keefe waited patiently all that day until dawn of the next day.
He was beginning to despair of even this faint ray of hope when suddenly he saw the welcome face of Doc Milliken in the open doorway.
Doc! Oh, Doc, you can't imagine how good it is to see you.
Greetings, Yank. I understand you're seeking foreign aid.
Yeah. Any kind of aid I can get. Come on, sit down. Oh, it sure is good to see you. I suppose you know what happened to me, huh?
You're going to be shot. Serves you right for sticking your nose in where you don't belong.
Well, now look, Doc. You're the only man that can help me now. You're the only chance that I've got.
That's a good one. You, a citizen of the gold standard nation, your government wouldn't furnish a plug nickel for your burial.
Oh, Doc, this might be a big joke to you. It's my life that's at stake.
What's the matter with your War Department? Saving the Marines for the maypole dance?
Now, look, I'm not interested in conversation, Doc. Tell me, is there a way out of this place, or isn't there?
Yep. There's a way out, Yank. Money. That stuff talks just as loud in this rat trap as it does any other place in the world.
Well, how much?
Well, now, let me see. A lot of them to pay. All the way from General Panposa himself down to this ape guarding your door. $10,000 ought to do the trick.
10,000? Where am I gonna get $10,000?
Well, son, you better start uttering your last words. Mighty little uttering time left.
Doc, look, you're a wise man. Now, think. There must be something.
I like you, son. I got a notion to help you. There's only one government in the world can get you out of this scrape. The Confederate States of America.
When are you going to get it through your head? Confederacy's been defunct for 40 years.
That's a campaign lie.
All right, all right.
Now, before you qualify for aid, you got to take the oath of allegiance. Now, raise your right hand.
Oh, now, Doc, this is ridiculous.
Raise it. Now, I, Barney O'Keefe, Yank, being of sound mind, sound body, hereby transfer my fealty, respect, and allegiance to the Confederate States of America and to the government thereof. Now say, I do.
Oh, Doc, please, now.
Say it.
I do.
Now, don't you forget that, old son. Days to come will be a source of pride, accomplishment. Stand up for it. Fight for it.
If I'm still alive.
I'll get in touch with my government immediately. I'll return as soon as negotiations with the enemy are completed.
And I'll be here.
The hours seemed like days, the days like months. There was no word of hope, no sign of deliverance. Even Doc Milligan failed to look in on this nation's new subject. Faith yielded to utter despair. Then one day, just as the executioners were preparing to grease their firearms...
Greetings, Yank.
Doc, tell me, Doc, tell me.
All right, son. Here's the latest bulletin from official headquarters. Help's come. The Confederate States of America is applying for your release right now.
Hey, Doc, now, you're not just making this all up.
This is official business. Ain't no room for jest in the affairs of state.
Okay, I should have known better.
Representative of our government arrived by the fruit steamer last night. Negotiations between the two nations was open immediately. Word should come through any minute.
Doc, I want you to know that regardless of what comes out of this, that I'm deeply grateful to you.
I'll be waiting in the shack when word comes through. Got to get a few belongings together. I'm moving on to Panama this afternoon. Good luck, son.
Thanks, Doc. Doc! Hey! Hey, Doc! Look at me! I'm a free man! Look!
Well, negotiations must have gone well.
Yeah, Doc, and... I don't know how I'm going to thank you.
That fruit steamer's shoving off tomorrow. The purser's expecting you. If I was you, I wouldn't lose no time getting aboard.
Don't worry, you're the boss. But first, I want to hear. Tell me, how did you do it?
Old Jeff Davis ratio. A barrel of money for a barrel of freedom.
Well, hurrah for Jeff Davis. But the barrel of money, Doc, where did you get the money?
Well, now, son, that fruit steamer wasn't carrying only cargo, you know. It also brought my life savings from Yazoo City. $12,000 in bribe money.
Wow, $12,000.
Yes, sir. Now, beat it, son.
Now, wait a minute, Doc.
Beat it, I said.
Now, Doc, how can I ever pay it back?
You don't have to, son. That $12,000 was in Confederate money. Every dollar of it.
Confederate money?
O'Keefe got safely aboard the ship. I met him on deck that night, and he told me the story. Well, being a writer, I was determined to meet Doc Milligan. And I went ashore an hour before departure the next day.
You found Milligan in prison?
Yeah. He'd made one mistake. Didn't shove off for Panama soon enough. The general had suddenly detected a difference in the money the Doc had given him and the money he had seen the Americans spend. Well, the fraud was uncovered in a few hours, and Doc was executed the next morning.
Oh, Henry, I owe you an apology. The story is excellent.
No rewrite?
Not a word.
Oh. The activities seem to be getting underway. Shall we watch? from the South, Colonel?
No. But as a colonel, I feel it my duty to respect the flag of another nation.